Okay, so in the first part was putting down shapes and sort of sketching out branches.
Yeah, and the direction of branches and
Now
the way that they grow.
This seems to have moved on a bit.
I've been playing a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
So what have you been doing?
Right, so basically we want our trees to look a bit more tree-like now.
3D.
Three-dimensional.
Yeah.
So we're thinking now about light. Also texture. We want to put some leaves on our trees, so we're going to think about the texture of those leaves and also how that might appear on the page. Trees, as I said before, are three-dimensional, as we know. And thinking about the light, if you think about branches and trunks, they're cylinders. So this is I'll just put in a very...
Just going to move forward so I can see it a bit better.
Simple cylinder thing here. And if we think...
Just as an example.
Yeah, if we think that the light is coming this on here, so it's hitting this side here.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really, really dark there. And then we get some mid-tones in the middle there. So we can just...
So just smudging again.
Oh, love a bit of smudging. Okay. Alright. And I'm
That chamois leather.
This chamois leather is really... Yeah, it's coming out really...
So just sort of curving it almost around
so you get this. Okay?
Yeah.
Basically, that's...
So it pops out of the page a bit.
Yeah, I can use a rubber just to take that light back. Anyway, there we go. So that's very quick, very simple. Alright. What should we do first? Let's do this pine at the top here. So all I've done here is I've literally just smudged some of the charcoal to form these sort
just
of flat,
taken out some of those lines.
and I've kept the dark underneath. Alright.
Yeah.
And then we can build it up like that.
So you've started to smudge out some of the lines from the shapes.
Yes.
As well.
Yeah, because we don't want them to look too cartoon-like.
No.
So now we're going to hopefully make them look a bit more like trees rather than just shapes.
So you've obviously you smudged out in this one, and are you then building back up on top of your smudged lines?
That's it. Yeah. So where the light, so if the light is coming from up here, the top of the branches, the leaves on the top are going to be light, and obviously what's underneath is going to be much darker. So it's exactly like it's like clouds.
Yeah.
Alright, it's like the clouds last week where they were dark underneath.
It's quite interesting that you can bring in similar techniques.
Yeah, and charcoal's not, does work quite nicely like the graphite did.
Are you using the same charcoal as in stages one?
Yeah. So this is just the willow charcoal at the moment, yeah. And so you can see how we can just sort of
working on top of those smudged lines.
Working on top of those smudged lines. The other thing now to bear in mind is the fact that branches will disappear behind leaves. So they go in and out of.
Yeah, so you don't have to bring every branch out to a point.
No.
You can have them sort of twisting around each other.
Just bear in mind where they're going, but So I've just put that in there for a minute. A good example of that is this one over here, where I've just started. So you can see where I can
smudged out those circle lines.
Yeah, but also I can bring that across and take out some of the branch, because you're not going to see all of that branch there. So I'm taking out the shapes now, but you might see bits of the branch coming through. I might want to leave some light where the light is, where you can see through the leaves and the branches. But I'm just, you don't have to stick rigidly to your...
I like this one.
You like the way this is going?
Yeah, I do.
There we go.
I would say this is probably one of the most, for me, would be one of the most difficult trees to draw, because it's one of the ones that I think when you typically draw a tree is the ones that can become quite cartoon-like.
Yeah, I think you might be right there.
That's just me though.
There we go. And so you can also see here on the trunk how I've made it darker this side.
Dark on one side.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do with this one now is I'm going to use a little bit of compressed charcoal.
Okay, what's the difference?
Okay, so this is basically lots of charcoal powder, which has then been added to a binder and then been compressed really tight. So it's really concentrated.
So it's darker.
So you get much darker, blacker.
Is it equally as soft or?
No, it's much harder.
Okay, so you have to, if you want a darker effect, you have to press harder, or it just naturally gives you that?
No, it just naturally gives you that. Right.
So you're still able to keep quite light?
Yes, but what I'm doing with this is I'm just catching it on the, where I know that the light is not catching, on the underside of the branches. And in this case also on the left hand side as well. Right. And this is just to illustrate where the dark is, but just remember where those branches are disappearing, like this.
It's interesting because it's starting to pop out of the page now.
Yes.
Now you've been using that darker colour.
And now you can really start to build up. The same thing applies to the leaves as well. The undersides are going to be much darker. So you can start to build up. So you can see now we start to get these.
It looks from here that it's starting to get a bit more texture to it as well.
Yeah.
So just using your finger to smudge.
Yeah, you can use your finger. If you don't want to get messy, use a cloth. But I don't mind getting messy, really. Okay, just adding a little bit of texture in there. And you can just then spend your time really building that up. I mean, I've just done one little small area here. But just go through. And each tree will have its own
texture. It's quite nice now to see that it builds up so quickly.
So you can see even in this, I mean here it's looking all a bit sort of, I want to take that out because I don't want that.
So how are you
shaping? I'm just using rubber in this case.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to take a good bit out of there. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're losing that more solid line.
Yeah, and it's not just rubbing, it's also using the rubber to draw with as well. So use it as a drawing tool. Not just as a erasing tool. If I can use it, I'm using it on its side.
Just a normal rubber?
Yeah, just normal rubber. This is the highly effective one, Lucy, from last week. Do you remember?
How can I forget? And it is very effective.
It is very effective. So I want to take there's some light catching on the top of the leaves there and on the top here. So I can then put...
So it's quite good to use if you feel like you've built an area up too much as well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can go a bit OTT.
Yeah, oh yeah. So just taking, I also don't like that that line there, so I just want to take that out for now. But again, I can just put, I can, if I want to extend it out, I can just take a bit out. It's not, as I say, nothing's too precious. It, just have a go. If you don't like the way it's going, you can take it back out again. So it's it's not difficult in that sense. Right. So don't worry about it.
Go away and have a go at building it up.
Yeah, the point is don't worry, just have a go and have a play. Try some different trees. And just, it's all about the looking, the shapes, think about the light and the texture, but all of this will be down in the instructions and things that I will send you via email.
Okay, cool. I might even have a go at this one.
Oh yeah, good.
Well, I said might. I've got lots of free time now, so...
We shall look forward to your
contributions
next week. Maybe we'll film you starting yours.
No, I don't want to be filmed, thanks.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.